Tonight I will be working on this BMW X5. It has a common complaint problem that we see across the BMW lineup along with some minis is that the windows stop working and the lighting system is not being able to be controlled. So basically the FRM, which is the light module that also controls the windows, some of the windows on this particular vehicle, just the front windows. That is a module that ends up going faulty, and you can either replace it with a new one and program it, or you can actually repair the one that is in the vehicle. Many people out there have documented this multiple times, multiple ways. I am just going to quickly go through the way I do it with what I got here in house and how I'm just able to get these done and repaired for customers. So basically I'm not going to bother showing you the scan data. You'll just get an error message there talking about the lighting system. You'll have no communication with the FRM when you scan it, and again, no window control. So that's just showing you guys quickly what this will do when it fails, and from here on out I'll get you on the bench and show you how I repair these. So quickly, just to show one more time where the module is located on this vehicle, the X5. This is an E70 X5, and I think the X6 is in the same place. The E90s are in the same place. So it is there on the driver's side kick panel, and this is what it looks like. So first things first, come here, you pull up the schematic for where to make your solder point connections with the harness that's provided. And that is what I've done here. It's 4 wires, solder them on, and now we can go about seeing if we can read any information. Now, as far as the tool that I will be using, or that I have at my disposal to use for this, is the Autel IM608. I know that there is plenty of other tools out there, programmers, that can perform this job and actually perform it easier in less steps. But for me, I currently don't have any of those. I do have this, which is capable of doing it. It might be just an extra step or so, but it does get the job done, and I'll show you what I mean by at the end, just double confirming. So I'll walk you through the beginning, as we said before, as I showed before. Make the connections, connect your cable to the programmer, and then here on the tablet we go to programmer, and you want to go into the chip EEPROM, read and write, and at this point you will hit other, you find BMW, and this is going to be an E-series FRM, and that is the chip that is on these boards. So you click that, continue, and these are the 3 sections that is on this FRM chip. Now, one thing that I will explain, because I did run into this on one particular vehicle, that they told me it needed the FRM because the windows did not work. It was a 3 series, and I connected it this way. When it gets corrupted, it loses, or this EEPROM section is what mainly gets corrupted, and there is no information there to be read with this tool. As well as with this tool, the D-flash, if you try to read that, it'll pull up that it can't, there's no information to be read there. And then you go to P-flash and you are able to pull information there. If you cannot pull nothing from the EEPROM with this tool, then it is corrupted. If you pull nothing D-flash, but you do pull info from EEPROM and obviously P-flash. P-flash you will always be able to pull information whether it's corrupted or not. But if you are able to pull from the EEPROM, it is not corrupted and there's something else going on. Like for me with that particular vehicle, the windows did not work because the drivers in the FRM were messed up. It was not a corrupted issue. So again, with this tool, I'll show you other tools. There is easier, different ways to go about it with pulling D-flash and using the D-flash to fix and repair the EEPROM. This tool cannot pull the D-flash even though it attempts to, so we cannot repair it that way, but I'll show you what to do. So out of the three, I'll just show you what it does. We'll go into D-flash, and that is where you get your diagram for making the hookup. So if we go to read, it'll try to read and pull up this message. So it tells you that there's nothing there to be read, basically is what it's saying. So we back out, we go to the EEPROM, we'll do the same thing, we'll try to read. And this is how you'll know if it's truly corrupted. Okay, so when you do get that, there is the FRM is corrupted. And I'll back out and I'll show you the P-flash. I always go in here to read it because this will also help me verify that my connections are soldered good and that we are able to pull information. So when that light is flashing, it is doing its communication, and once it goes past the 5%, it's usually a good there's a good chance we are going to read something. So I'll get you back to when we finish reading this and see what it pulls up. And we're almost done. And there we go. So that is information in the P-flash. And again, for repairing the FRM, I cannot do anything with this. It just lets me know we are able to get a good read and our connections are good. So I won't save this. We'll back out. Now in order to repair this and bring it back to life, basically, to get rid of the corruption, we'll go to D-flash, and then where it says write partition, we'll go there. And so there it's telling you when you do a write partition, it erases the D-flash and the EEPROM data. So it'll basically blank out those two sections on the chip and almost like get you wiped out in a fresh blank state. And I'll show you. So you want to hit yes. And then there's these options for you to pick for settings, basically. So in the EEPROM, the drop down menu, you want to go to the 16, which I had it set from a previous one I did, and you hit OK. D-flash, it stays at 0, it's the only option you have, and so you hit OK. So these are basically kind of like the settings that you want to have and set up to be able to kind of reset it, wipe it out, and make it blank. So we'll hit yes, and it'll go through its process of I keep calling it kind of wiping it out, blanking it. So that is now complete. And so after the partition is written, I'll show you again. So we'll go back into the D-flash, we'll go to read, and again with this tool, it does not read the D-flash even if there is information there when it gets corrupted. So again, we get the same message, but now we are getting the same message because there is nothing to read in the actual D flash because it's been repaired in a way, it wiped out. And the way you can tell, we go to EEPROM and we go to read, and we have a read in the EEPROM. Obviously we have just all FFs, and that's basically all kind of a blank format, as you can tell, all the way down. And so there's really not a need for me to save this, so again we'll cancel. But again, now the fact that we can read something in the EEPROM section, we are able to read a clean slate, a wiped out, ready for information EEPROM. Now there's a couple ways that you can go about completing the job. This is the first section. You have to reset it, wipe out, get rid of the corruption, and that's by doing the right partition portion of this. At this point, you have to put information into the FRM in that EEPROM section for it to operate 100% correctly, as far as knowing like options and lighting equipment and how many 4-door, 2-door for the windows, all that. You can either at this point get another file from a same part number FRM, which you can, I guess, find them online, and you would look for that 6135 all the way up to that 18. So that whole number is what you would, I guess, search for and download and then transfer onto here, and then you would go and hit write. By writing a good EEPROM dump and loading it onto this one, then it'll set up this with some information in the EEPROM and not be all FFs. So that's one way. The other way that I am able to do it, because I don't always have access, or I haven't done it this way by loading a different one on here, is I leave it blank, I disconnect it, and then I take it to the vehicle and I just code the FRM with the Autel, and it sets up the coding information to be able to operate correctly. So I'll disconnect this, bring you to the car, and then show you how that is done. Okay, so I've got it just temporarily hanging in there. I did put it back in the case to keep it protected. And the main thing you want to do is have a good battery maintainer for a constant power supply. So we'll go ahead and key it up, turn our load off. And now on this, we'll go into diagnostics, BMW. And then we'll do automatic, read, and 906. So, okay. Well, that's correct. That's correct. And being that I have the Autel, the IM608, I do have the Elite also. Both those, if you have a current subscription, you are able to do programming and coding with either one of the tools. So if you have this, you're able to repair it, and then you are able to do the programming with the current subscription. So at this point, instead of diagnosis, we'll go into programming, And this is just precautionary information, things to watch out for. Hit OK. At this point, you hit OK. And it's going to communicate with modules for programming status. And I do have a couple other videos displaying and showing the procedure process of programming with Autels from beginning to end. So this is pretty much similar to that. At this point, it asks you if control modules were replaced. You want to say no. If this was a brand new one from the dealer, which I've done it that way also with these tools, I would hit yes. For this situation, I always hit no. And another thing to note, I do believe, even with it wiped out blank, that we get some operation. So if you see, we have blinkers now. So believe operation is somewhat restored, but it's not 100% to this vehicle. So you want to go now to programming and coding. And this is what the tool has determined what other modules need or have an update available or programming is available along with coding. But for the sake of time, I am going to unselect all those for now. And there's our FRM. Okay, so for the time being, I have just the FRM as encoded. So there's another good sign. So it's able to communicate with the FRM. It talked with it. It found its status. It's not basically coded properly. So it automatically picks that. So you want to do that. You don't want to go ahead with replace. You just want to do encode. So you hit OK. And this will tell you just before starting. It's just information. You can print it out if you want, but you can now, so the action that it will do is code the FRM and it'll give it a part number, and so we will execute. Now it asks you to be connected to the internet. This is how it'll pull the files. It'll download them to the machine here, and then it'll shoot them into the module. Download complete. We hit OK. Our key is already on. Hit OK. And now it'll start the process. I'll let this run and continue and get you back on it with when it is done. And okay, so it just finished. Now, one word of advice: you have to stay with this. Don't walk away, because there are a couple prompts where you'll be asked to take the key out, cycle the key, put it back in. Another one is where it gets to a point where it needs to initialize the windows. You'll have to select like a confirm button and then next. So in this process, you have to kind of basically babysit it, stay here, and walk through the prompts. Once it goes through all those steps, this is the ending page, I'll call it. And what you want to look for is the status as success. That's going to be the part number it's given it, and all the steps that it went through, and those are also in the status of under success. So everything was now done correctly. We know we can communicate with the FRM, obviously, and I will just, at this point, so you just end the session, and you could go into diagnosis and read faults and all that, but just to show you. So now we have window operation, and we have lights that operate now. So we are up and running. FRM's communicating. It's been coded, and I will show you the verification on that. Okay, so I've got it back here on the programmer, and I will show you on the EEPROM. So we'll go in there, we'll go to read. Before it was all blanked out with all FFs. And now after it's been coded, now we have actual data that's been placed in there. As you can tell, there's various different numbers now. So to show you, so I will go ahead and save. So I've gone ahead and saved it. And to show you, we'll go here. We'll open up the hex editor, and there's that same file opened up. Now if you look here on the right, all the way towards the bottom, so obviously information's been written after the coding, but one of the ones I use for verification is down here. So this 5U, so on and so forth, that is the vehicle's VIN number. So it's been not only been encoded with the proper options and lighting equipment and window equipment, we've also written the VIN number in there. So because if you were to, so I can save this, well obviously it's saved, and if I were to send it to someone or load it into a different FRM of a E70 or E71, it's gonna have this VIN number. Now there's probably ways of changing it through the hex editor, but if I can just program from a blank sheet with the proper equipment and encode it to the vehicle, that is, I think, the best way for me to do it with this equipment that I have here. Again, there are other ones that it's easier to do a repair with like a one button deal, so on and so forth. But this is the way that I do it and able to get it done. And again, the verification, not only with lightings working and communication restored, but truly seeing the VIN number now written in there is a double verification. Okay, so that's going to be it on this one. I hope you found this information somewhat useful. If you are one that has this tool, you are able to perform this repair if you don't have the other programmer out there in the market that is a shorter path. I will tell you, if you go and hit replace when you're doing the programming, or after you write the partition and just install it, your lighting won't work properly. I've had it in the past where I've tried to pick the option of replace when going ahead and programming, and it doesn't encode it properly for some reason, and the lighting would flicker, or though actually I had the windows where it would control the other side. One button would do the opposite window. It was weird stuff where operation was restored, but it was funky. It was not right. Like it was almost corrupted, but operating. So keep that in mind. Hit encoding after you do the partition, the wipeout, whatever you want to call it, and then you'll get everything working properly, and it's truly now fully encoded to this vehicle. So again, thank you for watching, coming along this ride. If And so that's all pretty much that I can convey to you guys based on my experience with this. Again, it's just based with this tool, how you go about doing it, one of the two ways. This is what has been successful for me. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. And that's all on this one. We'll notify the customer and move on to the other repairs.